Welcome to another GMEC lesson. Lovely to have you tuning in. Thanks very much for joining me. I'm DrChips and I'm really excited to be sharing this lesson with you today and telling you how to go about taking part in this lesson, because today we're bringing it all together. This is the fourth GMEC lesson, and in previous lessons we've looked at different aspects of civil engineering. We've learned what it means to be sustainable and to build buildings for people's well-being. And now we're going to put all of those skills into practice, and you are going to design a space to house a community of your own. So as we're learning to be civil engineers, we found a real space for you to develop. It's called Medlock Valley in Oldham. So I think the first thing that we should do is fire up Google Earth again, because I love playing on Google Earth anyway, and take a look at the site that we're going to be using to design our community on. Okay, so to get onto Google Earth, it's simply a case of Googling Google Earth and going straight to the top hit there, and it will load up like so. Give it a second. There we go. And what you can do is you can, let's just zoom right out. I was in the West Country there. And you can click onto the find an area. And here it is. I was testing it before. This is the postcode for Medlock Valley in Oldham, the site that you are going to be looking at. It's OL8 2PN. And we click return. And here we go. Let's have a look at the site that we are going to be working on. Here it is. Isn't it so cool how it does that? And then does the pan around, and it puts these little 3D houses on. It uses all machine learning, which is rather clever and cool. So anyway, this is the site. You can see that it's partly completed. There are some houses on this development. But a large part of it hasn't been developed. It hasn't been completed. So we can have a look at what types of houses there are here. We can see that these look like sort of terraced or semi-detached houses. We can even take a walk down one of the roads, shall we? Let's walk past these houses and then into the bit that hasn't been developed. So I can take the street view. In we go. Like so. So we can see these are, sort of a terrace style house. And then we can walk down here. And this is the part of the site which is yet to be developed. So the roads are in, but the actual land that can be developed into a new community. Oh, there's a dog here. Hello. Is yet to be. Oh, he's there as well. Look, I think he might be chasing. I think he's chasing the Google car. How cool is that? Look, I think the Google car must have been going the other way. Here's his owner, and he was chasing it. There we go. Anyway, we digress. Let's come back to the community site. I just want to see how far the dog will follow the Google car. Actually, he's given up there. So now you've probably starting to have some ideas about how you might go about developing this site, what you might put on it. You're going to be thinking about who's going to live in your community, and whether that's a mixture of ages or young families or retired couples. And first of all, I think that you should think perhaps of a potential name for your community as well, something that reflects the ethos of the project. So from previous years, I can give you some examples here. Here we've got Hextown, and I think you can probably think or explain why that is called Hextown there. That was one of the previous entries' names, looking at the development there, developed in that shape of a hexagon. We've also had the Eco Estate as well. Nice bit of alliteration there. So you can be thinking about what you might call yours. I quite like for mine, obviously I'm Dr. Chips, I think my space is going to be a space where everybody sort of takes part in things. So there might be maybe like a vegetable area where everyone can grow vegetables. And I think I might call it chip in, as in everyone chips in to help out. Do you like that? Chip in. I think that might be what I call mine. But anyway, let's go back to Google Earth 1 second, because one thing that I didn't show you before, which is really cool as well on here, is that they do have a measurement tool. So you can get an idea, because in the first lesson, we talked about sort of size and scale and how big houses are, etc. So we can actually measure these. So here's the measure tool, and I can click there and look, I can measure. So it looks like each house there is about 8 meters. And look, you can do areas as well, so you can get an idea of the area of their garden as well. So it's about 8 meters. So that would mean, I think, the semi-detached houses are probably going to be about twice that. They're probably going to be 16 meters across. A little bit less than that. So you actually get more space if you're in one of those detached houses. But anyway, there we go. So, and that's really important because in what we're doing today, we're going to be thinking about scale and drawing things appropriately sized to scale. So it's important that we just remind ourselves of the size of the houses on the plot here. Okay, so if you look in your design pack, you will find that you have got a brief, a design brief. It looks like this. I've just screenshotted it and popped it onto the slide there. And this outlines the project and gives you details of what you need to include in your space and the points you need to consider when you're developing your design. Now, a design brief is probably one of the most important factors in making sure that a project is successful. So let's have a quick look at some of the points on our design brief. We've got some external features mentioned here. So things like we want accommodation for 30 groups of people, a communal outdoor space, a recreational area, some other considerations as well. Your buildings must include sustainable features, which we've learnt about before, and promote well-being as well. And it also states that we need to think about how we're going to incorporate renewable energy into our space as well. So lots of things to think about there. On the point about the sustainable features, let's just remind ourselves with some fantastic work that we got sent from one of the previous GMEC lessons about the kinds of sustainable features that you can have on houses. So in this activity, these two pupils took a basic design of a house and then added on things that they could that would make them more sustainable. So we've got things like windmills, wind turbines that can be used to generate electricity. We've got solar panels on the roof. We've got water butts that can collect the rainwater that pours off the roof, and then make use of that by pouring them, using it perhaps to water plants, etc. So these are all ideas that we had. So do remind yourself of the things that you covered in that lesson when it comes to designing in your sustainable features. We also, in that lesson, met the fantastic Rob Webster, who talked to us about sustainable development, how to make buildings more sustainable. So what we're going to do now is we're going to quickly cut to a quick video of his just to remind us of some of that key information.
What we call these features here are sustainable drainage systems. So these are features that pick up, that collect rainwater. So obviously when it rains, collects into these features, and you hold the rainwater on site, and before it then just kind of goes off the development, you retain it, and then you can use that water to has helped to grow the plants. Make a nice kind of feature for people to learn about it. So you've got some kids here just learning about the different types of plants that are inside in this little pond here. You have these features here which are rain gardens. So you've got the downspout from the roof coming down, and again that's going into the rain garden that's looking after the plants there. So you can use these features to make an area look really nice, but equally it serves a purpose as well to make sure that we hold back some of that rainwater and use it for the plants. This is a really good development, again, and it's got all these kind of rain gardens along the sides of the houses, and it just forms part of that lovely amenity space in front of the developments. You also might have seen these are rainwater butts, and then what all happens is the water kind of comes down, collects in these rainwater butts, and is stored, and then you can actually use that water to connect a tap to, and then water some of your plants in your garden. So it's reusing that water, which is fantastic. Another great thing that you could look at for your development is renewable energy. So you've got here solar panels on the roofs over here, and you've also got some small wind turbines. So you might have seen the really big wind turbines that sit on some of the hills, but you can also get small ones you can put development. So you can use that energy, so from the rays of the sun or the wind, to generate energy to run your home. You can also get what's called ground source heat pumps, and that's really clever technology, and that utilizes the ground's heat, or the heat within the actual kind of ground next to the houses, and it uses that heat to pass into development into each house, and actually use it to heat the house. So really clever, and it doesn't take an awful lot to power these, and you're using a lot of that energy taken naturally, and then you're using it to heat your home.
What a fantastic video. Thank you again to Rob for all of his help and the organisation he works for, Civic Engineers, in providing us inspiration for our projects. And there are more short videos on the GMEC website, so do check them out as well. Right, okay, so now we're going to move on to part one of the main task today, which is to make a list and mark up the map. Now, what do I mean by make a list? Well, the first thing that you might want to do is make a list, such as a mind map, of all of the different features that are going to feature on your development. And in the pack there is a blank mind map, an ideas generator template that you can use for this. Let me show you what that looks like. It's this one here, and I populated it with just a few ideas. I'm nowhere near finished yet, but just to give you an example of the kind of things that we might have on our mind map when we start to generate ideas. Here's what I've got so far. So my community name was going to be the Chip In, and I wanted to have some communal planting areas for growing vegetables, and that links to our design brief to have those communal areas. I'm going to have terraced houses with roof gardens for insulation and to support wildlife. So these are my terrace houses for the 30 groups of individuals, again coming from the design brief, and again targeting the requirement to have sustainable features. You can have these roof gardens that actually helps to keep the heat in the house and supports wildlife. More kind of communal spaces. I want a nature garden with a pond to attract wildlife, and remember we talked about how that supports people's well-being as well, as does encouraging exercise. So I'm going to have the idea of bike paths between different sets of houses to encourage cycling. So that's what I've done so far. Not finished, but I just wanted to get my ideas flowing. So that's your first task, or part one of your first task, is to do to create your mind map, get all of your fantastic ideas down on paper for your community. Then it's time to mark up the map. So in your pack, you have been provided a site plan, a map of the area where you are going to situate all of your structures, your houses, your garden space, your playground, anything that you've listed on your mind map. Now this is included in the packs in A4. If you can enlarge it to A3, it will give you more space to work with. And a really important fact to remember here is the scale of your plan. So the A4 version here has a scale of 1 to 1,000, which means that every centimetre on the plan is approximately equal to 10 meters on the actual site. Now, obviously, if you enlarge your site plan to A3, then you will also change the scale. And because A3 is about 1.5 times A4, your scale will be 1.5 to 1,000, which means that every 1.5 centimeters on your site plan is now the equivalent to 10 meters. So you need to think about that a little bit if you're enlarging this, because otherwise, when you come to draw your features on here, then they won't, your houses, whatever you're creating, won't be appropriately scaled. Because we need to make sure that they take up an accurate amount of space. Now, to help us out, we've also included an example from Civic Engineers. They've taken part of the site plan as well and shown how they would start to mark this up with their idea of design. So you can see that they've got things like their terraced houses in there. They've got some bicycle storage. They've got a central water feature. They've got a multicolored tarmac play area for children with climbing frames, so that's obviously kind of a well-being feature. They've added it all onto there as well. So that's an example that's in there. Now, part 2 of the task we've called Get Imagining, because after you've decided what you are going to have on your site, the different buildings and any other features, remember it's all about sustainability and well-being. We want you to think up how you're going to communicate your ideas about your fantastic space, your community, to others. Now, I've got a few ideas here, so let me just show you. And these are in your pack. The sheet is in your pack. So you might do something like create a collage of different things that are going to go on your Medlock Valley site. You might create a Rightmove advertisement to promote the properties. You might zoom into one of the areas on your site and create a scale drawing, making sure you focus on the aspects of sustainability and well-being. Or you could do a film if you'd like to do a film. We want you to be creative and think about how you are going to communicate all of the interesting aspects of your site with other people. You could create a mood board, for example. So that's what I'm going to do now, and I'm going to say cheerio so I can go and crack on with that. And I'm going to say to you, good luck with today's GMEC task. And please do share anything that you create with Seri. I would love to see them. Bye for now.